Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Now, I'm getting kind of tired of just saying which one of these videos it is, like number and stuff. So I'll kind of stop doing that from now on. But you clicked on this because you were interested, just like I was. And I usually do these videos because all the other people are kind of the same. Every single one of them is practically similar, except for at least one key difference that still doesn't change anything with it. What I'm going to do is completely different from everybody else's because they keep Izuku with his parents and stuff. Nothing bad really happens to him. He still goes to UA and stuff. In this one, because you already know what it is, it's going to be what if Izuku had Wolverine's powers. In this one, Izuku's father is Stryker, William Stryker, and his mother, it's gonna still be Inko. His dad doesn't have a quirk, okay? But his dad's always been fascinated with them. Like, how did they actually, like, sprout up? Because even though he's been studying it and everything, he hasn't found any things in the gene. And he believes that the easiest way to actually find out is if you were to look at a child's genes, but he's not really able to just take a random kid off the streets. And so he thought, why don't I have my own kid? So yeah, right off the bat, it's kind of a bad life for Izuku. Because what happens is Striker wants to see because Izuku, even after he's supposedly gotten his quirk, he hasn't had anything to actually activate it because sometimes it's activated by emotions, sometimes by events, and sometimes just out of pure luck. And all the other ones have kind of failed. So he thought, why not I try emotions? So in the most Striker way possible, he sets up a car crash where his mother dies, making Izuku extremely angry, and it's set up so that it seems like a villain did it, just out of thin air. And so wants to go and kill that villain because of what they've done. And so William takes an opportunity and says, "You know what, son? Even with your healing factor and stuff, or whatever it is, and your claws, your bone claws, I think you can become better, and it will be way easier for you to take him down." And Izuku says, "I'll do anything to get revenge from my mother." Now Striker sees this and he's like, "Perfect." So he says, "Come with me. We're gonna go to where I work." Now Striker still is a commander in the military and stuff. He's still a high-ranking officer. So he takes him to his base of operations, same place, and he says, "Now, Izuku, what I'm going to do to you might hurt, but because of your healing factor, you will survive it. You might forget a few things, but they'll eventually come back." And Striker lied about that. It will still hurt and he'll lose all of his memories. Well, it will be the same thing that happened to Wolverine. His memories will just be suppressed, and he'll only be able to remember a few things at a time after a few days or so, but nothing to really make him fully come back. And so the same thing happens. Uh, he jumps out of the tank of water and starts slashing around, and he killed a few people, but was able to be subdued somehow. Actually, no, he was subdued by let's say somebody with a hardening quirk, because I always am bringing hardening quirks in, like Colossus is. Jesus, that was a weird way to say his name. Like Colossus is metal. Jesus, that sounded horrible. Colossus is. Colossus? God damn it. You know the guy that can turn his entire body into metal. He'll be there. He'll be one of the army members because he thought that his corp would be really well for army, and so he joined it. He was able to hold instead of it being, actually no, it's going to stay Deku. He was able to hold Deku down. Um, and he is kind of like knocked out because of the amount of energy that he spent, and he was just, hurt severe, like badly because of how the procedure went. So he kind of just fell asleep. And so, the next day, Izuku wakes up and he just kind of just sits up in bed, and William comes in and says, "Ah." And instead of saying deck because he doesn't want any memories to trigger, he says, "Ah, X1 something." I forget what it was. No, it's not X1. I'm gonna say X24, I think. I think that's what Logan was. He says, "Ah, X24." Wait. No, that was kind of like Logan's kid. It was X23 because they kind of, if you saw on his chain, it was X23 and then a bunch of other numbers, but they kind of summed it down. He says, "Ah, X23, you're awake." And Izuku looks up at him and doesn't say anything because it's kind of like he forgot how to speak. And he says, "It is time for your first training session. We'll see what you can do, and then after that, we'll just see where it goes." So they train, they test his adamantium claws, his healing factor and everything, his mobility and stuff. And after a few weeks, they're like, "Good, good. Seems like you're doing well." And Striker gets a message saying, "Sir, we got a problem. We need your team on a mission." It's a Let's say it's the same thing where Striker has to go get the adamantium, but instead it's um uh let's say it's a piece of equipment, like a very high tech thing that was stolen from Island somehow. And so he says, "I'll get my team right on that." So him, Logan, and all the other guys get suited up. Now, Deku doesn't have the same suit that he does. It's more of a tactical gear. Like it's practically completely black and stuff. It looks like Black Noir's suit from The Boys, but without the knives. And for the helmet, it's more of a Deadpoolish look. Yeah, so it's kind of like that. It's practically just Deadpool's suit, but just completely black. And so uh, Deadpool or Wade decides to try and strike a conversation with the kid. He's like, "So, what got you into this business?" And Izuku not responding, he says, can you talk?" And Striker says, "Sadly, the operation that we did to him, uh, let's just say, took some consequences that he doesn't really know about." And Deadpool's like, "Dude, you know that you said that just right now in front of him." And Striker's like, "Yes, but I also put some headphones in his helmet so that he wouldn't be able to hear, just so that I could actually tell people what we did to him. And also because we learned from our testing, that he doesn't really like to hear screams. It kind of disorients him." They're like, "Well, then how is he supposed to know where things are?" And William's like, "You'll see." You might be asking right now, well, how does he know? It's kind of like what Toph has. He's able to, because of his enhanced senses and everything, he's kind of like a daredevil. He's able to sense movements in the ground and know where things are. But he's also still able to see. So he could see incredibly far. Without the headphones, he could hear for incredibly long distances, smell incredibly long distances, and taste practically exactly what's in anything. Like if well, mostly in food, because he wouldn't just be randomly tasting metal and stuff. So yeah, same thing, kind of the same thing happens, but instead, William says, "How about you guys stay back here and let's see what our new recruit can do?" And like, "Sure, fine with me. I don't want to die today," because this base is heavily guarded. And he kind of clicks something on the side of Logan's head, and he says, "X23, it's time for you to go do some work. Take out all the guards, and then do a find a way to get up to the highest floor. On the guy's desk, there should be a piece of equipment. Take it and get back here. And then he gives him kind of like a building schematic, and he's able to, and Deku is able to see where the thing is. And he looks over to at Stryker and just nods his head, and he runs out the cargo plane or something and jumps, does a superhero landing, runs, takes out two, one claw on each side because it's kind of like a knife because he doesn't do three because it'd be kind of weird to see three knife stab wounds on somebody. And Stryker, um, through his testing, found out that one or two claws is better than three. So he'd only use three if he had to kind of, I'm not really sure why he would use three. But yeah. Oh wait, actually no. He'd use three to climb the building, um, two to cut down a gate, and one to just kill a person. So all you hear are just people screaming, and you just hear bodies dropping and bullets flying all around. And they're like, "Are you sure this environment is safe for the kid?" And you kind of know what's going to happen. He goes around, he's slicing everybody, killing them. He gets to the building. I don't know if you were able to hear all that because this was kind of up against something. Uh, but they see him climbing up the building and they're like, holy crap, what is up with that kid? And Stryker's like, it's his quirk. His ability is was very interesting. And Stryker was able to kind of figure out a few things about the quirk gene and everything. Um, so yeah. And a few minutes later, after hearing some more gunshots, some windows breaking, and light muffles of screaming, you see Izuku jump out the window and just stab into the wall as he slides down. Now you might be asking, well, how was he able to get up if he put his claws at a slant so it looked like he was kind of punching it and stuff instead of kind of doing a ladder climb. He was kind of doing like a handlebar climb, you could say, because of how if you were to think of a motorcycle with its handlebars and stuff, that's kind of like at the same angle his hands were at. They were like that. And he gets back to the plane, hands it to Stryker, and then nods his head. And Stryker says, "Good. That took you less time than it would have if we all went." And they're like, "How do you know?" And he's like, "Got a friend." Because in this timeline, Stryker's actually friends with a lot of heroes. So Sir Night Eye, All Might, and there is another one that he decides not to actually be friends with, and that's gonna be a professor at UA that has the same powers as Professor X. And you probably know where this is gonna go. And he says, "There's a lot of potential in X23. I might have to put them into a hero school to kind of put them all to use or to kind of advance at them." They're like, "Are you sure, sir? Because it seems like this kid has a lot of training." And he's like, "You have no idea how much how much more powerful he could become because Deku's healing quirk will be able to kind of enhance even further. Because before his healing quirk was able to kind of heal a bullet wound or cut in like half a minute or so, but now it's able to do it in 20 seconds because of the adamantium being grafted. His body had to heal incredibly quickly, so it needed to adapt to it or enhance his healing factor. So yes, he this is a way that he might meet Bakugo and some of the other kids because of their quirks. So Stryker says, "I'll be taking him to UA. Seems like that's the best school nowadays for heroes." And so they're like, "It is. A lot of even though it's really hard to get into that school, a lot of kids that go to that school either come out as pro heroes or at least in the top 10 or so. The other ones uh aren't well known. But they are pretty powerful. And Striker says, "Thank you for that. I probably will send them to UA now." And so once they get back to base, him and I'm just gonna call Deku X-23 from now on because I just got that graphed into my memory now as Deku being X-23. And so they go to his car and they're like, "Wait, is he your kid?" And Striker's like, "Yes, he is." And they're like, "You did experiments on your kid?" And he's like, "I saw a potential in him. I just wanted it to be realized." And they're like, he isn't an object." And Striker says, "I never said he was, but I do know one thing. He's both my kid and a weapon. And I've made him into that." And so Deku was already in the car and he was kind of toned out because he was just listening to the music. And the Striker did turn on the music because sometimes X-23 can actually well, Deku. I'm just gonna switch between X-23 and Deku from now on. Deku kind of listens to music if somebody was talking because he just finds it more calming. And so Striker says, "Well, see you guys next time. Your new boss will be here in a few." And the new boss will be, let's say Sabretooth. Yeah, let's say Sabretooth's an adult. He's not Deku's brother like in X-Men Origins. And he was actually Stryker's cousin or or Stryker's relative. He wasn't his cousin, he wasn't his brother, he was in some families when your grandmom or your mom has like a sister, and then their family kind of branches off like really far, but those people but like the kids your age and stuff, you still call your cousins and everything. Same thing here. And so, anyway, let's get back to the real story. Yes, I'm moving my phone because I have to lie down. Ah, it feels way better now. Jeez, that was this probably me yawning. So, um, Stryker takes Deku to UA, and Stryker knows a few people in UA. So Deku doesn't have to take the entrance exam or anything. He'll just, be put into 1A because they know the potential that Deku holds. And so some kids will be like, "Hey, why does this kid have to take it?" And they're like, "Well, we're friends with his father, and we've seen what he could do from time to time. So we already know that if he were to take the entrance exam, some of you might not have passed." And they're like, "That's really how powerful he is? What's his quirk?" And they're like, "We're not entirely sure, really, but we also can't really tell you because of, let's say, legal reasons." And so we're gonna kind of fuck, time skip to the um, physical. Actually, no. Let's say Izuku doesn't take the physical, and they're like, "Why isn't he taking all these things?" And they're like, "We know his potential. We want him to become a hero, and we already know that if he somehow becomes a villain, we're screwed. So we don't want him to kind of be." The excuse they're gonna say is, "We don't want him to." That's what Aizawa says. And so we're gonna go to the next day or the next after a few days to the heroes versus villains. Now Izuku doesn't really go to any other classes. He kind of is just at UA to train and kind of up his quirk. So whenever the kids are going to other classes, they usually see him and stuff in the gym with either a teacher or his dad and a few other guys. They're like, "So who's that guy with him that's not participating?" And they're like, "It's probably his dad." They said that His dad was in the military, I believe. That's kind of what's being passed around, and that's what dang it, I wish I was at my desk. That's what I'm not sure. I forgot. That's what one of the students says. And Izuku's gonna have his same suit, but it's gonna have, say, on the shoulder pad, it's going to have an, like, on the right shoulder pad, it's going to have an X, and they're like, "What's that X for?" And Izuku doesn't say anything, but his dad, who's there because he practically has to watch over Izuku just to make sure everything goes right, he says he disliked it. Now his helmet covers his entire face, and all the other students are like, "Hey, it's just like Ida's." And Ida looks over at Izuku. Now, Ida and a few other kids have tried to kind of talk to Izuku, but they never really got a word out of him. And so, from time to time, whenever Striker's walking down the hall and they see him, they're like, "Hey, why does Deku never talk? Why does Deku never talk?" He's like, "I don't know. He just doesn't feel like it." Now, once Striker heard that Professor um, Charles or just Professor X came, he thought to himself, I gotta make sure that Professor can't get into Deku's head. So he makes a new helmet for him, kind of like what Magneto's is, but it's going to kind of keep the shape of the same one. It's going to still have a mask and everything, um, so he won't be able to look inside Izuku's head. And once Xavier gets there during the uh, Heroes versus Villains, he's like, huh, I know students here, but I can't get into his mind. But anyway, we're gonna get back to what's happening. Izuku still gets put up with Ochako, and Bakugo is still with Ida. Now, in this universe, Bakugo is kind of like the original concept for himself, and you guys might not believe this. Sorry about that. My brother is kind of upstairs, and he always, from time to time, snoops in on me whenever I'm doing what if. The only reason you guys haven't heard it before is because I deleted the video that he was in, and I usually do these at night. Right now it's about 3 to 4 o'clock, or 3 or 4 p.m. Anyway, uh, Bakugo is kind of like the original concept for himself. He's actually nice somehow. I'm gonna give you the reason. See, originally, Bakugo thought himself so high and mighty, not only because they were saying, dude, you could definitely become a hero, but also because he was mad because Izuku always kind of helped him and stuff, and he thought that Izuku was always trying to be better than him. So without Izuku, Bakugo didn't really have anybody that tried to be better than him. So he just, you know, he was a little nicer to everybody because nobody really wanted to beat him or anything. So everybody was nice to him, and he was nice to everybody. So he's kind of just a nice kid now. But something from Izuku kind of sets him off, like not anger, but just weird. Because Izuku still went to Bakugo's school, and once Izuku left, Bakugo was like, "Hey, why isn't Izuku coming back to the school?" You might be asking, "Hey, why such a big time skip?" I don't know why I'm bringing this up now. It's because Izuku was on a ton of missions. Like once he got the adamantium and stuff, he didn't only do that one mission with the piece of technology. He went on other ones. The reason I did that one, I just felt like it. So, um, Ochako was like, we have to come up with a plan, and she starts talking about stuff and plans and everything, and she kind of starts going towards her ideals, and she asks, "What are your ideas? Why are you becoming a hero, Izuku?" Now, Izuku doesn't answer that, and right after she asks that, actually, All Might says, "Go, go, go." I mean, as All Might says, "Start." And Izuku, without a while Chaka was trying to run over to him to kind of activate her quirk, he takes out the claws and climbs up the wall. And they're like, "Holy crap! What's this kid's quirk?" And he busts through the window. And Bakugo kind of uses an explosion that was too big because he was scared, because he was startled, and it takes off half of Izuku's face. Nobody sees it. They're like, "Bakugo, what did you do? He's probably just you probably took off a chunk of his face." And like half of his mask, like the top left portion of his mask is gone, like around the eye and near the nose. Um, think of how Phasma's mask was kind of broken, but kind of widen it a little. Nah, keep it the same wideness, but like bring it a little bit more towards the back and stuff. Like it was a big chunk. And he looks back at them, and all you can see is just his face slowly healing, like pretty fast. It took like half a minute, and they're like, "Holy crap! What is this kid's quirk?" And Striker says, "Well, now that you've seen it, how about I tell you? I've classified his quirk as Wolverine because just like a Wolverine, he's got incredibly sharp claws, and also he's got a slight healing factor, just like a Wolverine. Yes, Wolverines do have a little bit of a healing factor, not incredibly, they just heal faster than any actual animal. You could search it up. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I'm just making it up right now. Let's just say in this universe they do. I think they do and ours do, but whatever. And so they're like, "What's up with the medal?" And he's like, "I just got it when he was born." Okay, because he doesn't want to give it away that he's experimented on his own kid. And you know that Bakugo was like, "Wait, does that mean we'll lose?" And Striker's like, "Maybe. Let's see." And so Ida starts running around, kind of trying to confuse Izuku, but Izuku sees that Ida is just trying to confuse him, and he's not really attacking him. But Bakugo's kind of rushing at him. So so before Striker told him, "Don't kill anyone. You just need to knock them out. If you kill anyone, I don't know what I should do." So Izuku well, Bakugo's throwing a hook. Izuku kind of goes pretty fast because he's not as fast as either, but he's fast. So he ducks, uppercuts, and kind of grabs. He ducks, kind of um, left hook, left hooks Bakugo in the abdomen, and then punches him in the face. So he got pretty stunned and stuff, and he's kind of hurt. And so he runs at him. He runs at Deku again, and Deku sees that he's throwing another right hook. So he just grabs it and grabs Bakugo's face and slams him into the ground, knocking him out because he put a lot of force into it. And then he looks at Ida and he can kind of see him, and so he knows when to run through the kind of circle that Ida's making. And so right as the he hits a certain point where Izuku kind of put it at, where he's able to go through it, he rushes through it and he touches the bomb. And then Ida stops and Izuku takes out one of the claws right in front of Ida's throat because he's just signaling that you should pay more attention or you could get yourself killed. And so Striker's like, "Amazing job, Izuku. That was better than anything I've seen from you before. You should do that more often." And Izuku looks at the camera and nods his head because he still doesn't talk, even to his dad, because of his mind. And so they're like, "Holy crap, this kid's," and Striker says, "a weapon." They're like, "Yeah, we're a monster too." So they're gonna start calling him Wolverine. Like that's the hero name he chooses. Or he first chooses X-23, and Stryker kind of thinks about that and is like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" But everybody's else like, X-23? That doesn't sound like hero name. And so he's like, through a walkie-talkie that Izuku always has in his ear that's too small for them to notice. Um, he kind of contacts Izuku and says, "How about Wolverine and stuff?" So anyway, we're not there yet. It's time for the you guessed it. Well, what time is it? Oh, dang, 30 minutes. Let me think. I already put up some backstory. Did that. Yeah, we're probably gonna do the next one is gonna be the USJ as well as well, I'm actually going to have to look up to see in which order because I forget. I don't know if it goes USJ and no, it does. It goes USJ and then the sports festival. I think after that it's choosing names or it's the internship with Steinark too. But anyway, that will be in part two. This is part one. So anyway, yeah. I might do another one actually after this. Let me think. Ideas. Hmm. Hmm. Oh wait, yeah, I was supposed to do another one. Next one that's going to come out is what if Izuku had let's say let's just say question mark or unknown as a quirk. So the description is going so for the title it's going to be what if Deku had and then the question mark, but really it's going to be what if Izuku had unknown. But you get what I mean, right? Anyway, this is part one of what if Izuku Midoriya had Wolverine's powers. Let me see. Might have to rename the other one then. What if Izuku Midoriya had Wolverine's powers, or what if Izuku was no? What if Izuku Midoriya had Wolverine's powers? Yep. Well, see you later.